Hi, everyone. Okay, I had a question about what to do if you had a bestseller that has stopped selling. And should you change it? Should you copy it and publish that? I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. But let's go into one of my listings that I wouldn't call this necessarily a bestseller, but I used to sell it on a regular basis, maybe a year ago, like, a year and beyond that. And it's kind of slowed down now. And I did sell one of these today, which kind of brought it to mind because I thought, oh, that's weird. I haven't sold this for a while. Like I see the order for it. Now, strangely, I sell these off of Etsy, like on my website, and go, imagine I sell this, but on Etsy, it hasn't sold for a while. So I think that's interesting. But what should I do? Like if I'm going to go in here and make any changes, number one, should I make any changes or should I just republish it? Or should I do a copy and publish that? Or should I just make a brand new one, completely different, and publish that? Well, I mean, you could do all three. If you wanted to do that, you could do a copy, you could publish that one, and that will force it into Etsy system as a new listing. Right. The downside of that is that it will lose all the sales history. It'll lose the favorites that this listing has built up. But it will kind of force Etsy to show it to people, and you might make some sales from that. And it could start the sales ball rolling again. And you know that the SEO is good, right? Because it was selling in the past. And as long as this isn't something seasonal, then if people were searching for purple edible butterflies before, they're still searching for that. That's a very basic thing. If it's something that's seasonal, like a fall item or spring or whatever, and I do have spring wedding in here, so that could be part of it, but I don't think so. But anyway, if it's seasonal, you might want to just kind of hold off on making decisions until you see how it does when the season that it sells in comes up. But that's the downside of doing a copy. The upside is that you will be forced back into the system as a new listing, and Etsy will show it to people. The downside is you lose the history. But I will say that losing the history, if it hasn't sold for a while, that might not be a bad thing because I'm not sure how recent recency is on Etsy anymore. I don't think they take that into account, like unless it's really recent as much as they used to. Unless it's seasonal, that's a different question. Yeah, because the seasonality thing will throw everything off. Let's go back to this. So normally what I would do is I would just republish this because like I said, I know that the SEO is fine. I know that that has sold before, blah, blah, blah. However, in this specific case, and this is going to be the same for you, what you want to go through and just go through and look at everything and see if there's something that you can tweak. And you might want to do a copy out and do those tweaks there. Okay, you could do a copy and not change anything, but if you're going to make a copy, why not make some tweaks? Now, I would not go in and just make a brand new listing and publish that. And I do that all the time just to test things out. And I don't see that it makes that much of a difference as compared to just copying it and posting that. You already have proof of concept with this listing because you know that it will sell. Okay, it will sell on Etsy. So why go in and do something completely different and try that? I mean, you can. It's up to you if you have the time to do that. I don't want to spend my time that way. So what I would probably do is go in here and just look at everything and decide what I would tweak. Then I would make a copy and I would publish the copy. I could do that right now. I could make a copy and tweak it. I'm not going to because one of the things I want to do is the pictures. I want to change some of these pictures. And part of that is that I think that Etsy is using more photo recognition to decide what the thing is. And none of these pictures, this is the video, none of these pictures have a picture of these butterflies on a cake or cupcakes. So I think what I want to do is the first picture, I want to show them on a cake. And I think that that might help because that would tell Etsy's photo recognition function, however that's working, which is probably not too well, but it will tell it that it's for cakes or cupcakes, right? I could put them on some cupcakes, but some of these are really large and they are really meant for a cake. So I might just stack up some cake dummies. I have a display cake that I use to stage butterflies on a cake. And I could use that as the first photo. And I think I might try that. I'm going to do a copy and try that. I will not change this one, okay, because I want to leave it as is so that I can see which one does better. And when I say do better, it's which one does Etsy choose to show? Okay, because Etsy is deciding. Etsy is actively going in there. If I leave the keywords the same, which I probably will, because I want to test one thing at a time, And you really can't test anything 100% on Etsy because you don't know what factors are happening in the background and you can't control everything. So you can try to do an A/B test, but it's not really going to give you an excellent result for sure. Like definitively, this is what made the difference. But if I change the picture and that listing starts getting more traffic, then it's kind of showing that that picture is drawing people in from the search results, right? So I could try that out. So I think I will actually do that, which means printing out a set of these and cutting them out, and that's a pain, but it won't take that long. So I'm going to change the picture on this and see if that makes a difference. I am going to make a copy and do that. Okay, this listing is being republished. I'm not worried about it, but I am going to make a copy and see if changing them and putting pictures of them on cupcakes and on a cake actually brings in more viewers because Etsy shows it more because Etsy is reading that as cake decorations. I don't know. I mean, it might not make a bit of a difference. Now, the other thing that happened to this specific listing about a year ago, which is when the sales slowed down, is that I took off the free shipping guarantee. Well, I have the free shipping guarantee. I took free shipping. I used to have free shipping wrapped up in the prices. So this set was $20 and I pulled the $4 out and I made it 16. And now I think when customers pay for the shipping, it's around $5. So that sets the price of this up to $21, which is a little over the $20 mark. And that very well could be what's slowing down the sales. So I could drop the price back down to, it would have to be 14 and some change, but I use whole dollar pricing. So if I do 15, it's still going to be a little bit over $20. I would have to take it down to 14 to keep it under $20 as the final price that the customer makes. And I'm not going to do that because this is double. This is basically like 2 sheets that I have to print out as opposed to 1, which is for most orders. I'm not going to do that because that's really going to eat into my profits too much. I'm not going to do that. Okay, but I am aware that that could be what slowed down the sales. If you want to try your pricing different ways, you have to think, how much is the customer paying at the end, right? But I can't control for things like sales tax either. And I can't control for if the post office decides to raise their prices, which they're going to do because they do that frequently. I think they did it this month for priority shipping. Messing around with that kind of thing, I don't like doing just because I can't predict what the final price is going to be, even if I think that I can, because some customers will see prices over $20 because of the sales tax. And that if that's the thing, if that's the reason that they're not buying it, then me dropping the price might not matter. I think maybe what would solve that or help it, like it would help to clarify that they're getting more butterflies, because this is 2 sheets of them as opposed to 1, is to have the picture of the cake, because then I could put the cake in the first picture. I could make sure that I'm showing that this is enough to decorate an entire 3-tiered cake, and you don't have to buy anything extra. They can see visually that they are getting a lot of butterflies. So I think that might solve this. That might solve the pricing problem too, if the price is a problem. And you're never going to get 100% clarity on every single thing, but I could tweak that. So at this point, I've come back to both the photo for the AI kind of photo recognition potential and the photo for illustrating to people that they are getting more butterflies than a regular order, because these are more expensive. Most of my listings are $12. And so when people see this one, they're like, why is this more? It's because there are more in the order. I think what I'm going to do for this is to take a picture. I'll just do it right now while I'm thinking about it. I will cut out a set of these. I'll stage them on a fake wedding cake. I'll take the pictures. I'll add the picture to the listing, and we'll see if that kind of shoves it back in when I make a copy and post that. I'm going to leave the original alone because I know that the original sells. I know it sells fine. But so I know that like the SEO is fine and that kind of stuff. So I don't want to mess with this too much, but I do want to make a copy and see if that helps. All right. And I think that the picture might actually be the solution, because it'll illustrate 2 things that could be what is the quote unquote problem. One being pricing and one being Etsy's system and the way that it's working now. and just the reliance on the AI to try to guess what's in the picture to help put things in context. Now, let's say that you have a listing that is just completely flatlined. Okay, you're not selling it. And as I did say, I just sold one of these today. So that's why I was thinking about this listing. If you have a bestseller that's completely flatlined, go back and look, see, is it super trendy? Was it super trendy and it's not trendy now? That's the first thing, because that happens a lot. I've had listings in the past that were very popular because of a trend that was going on in cake decorating, and everybody's using a specific birthday party theme or whatever it was. And that theme is over. That trend is done. So I'm not selling that product anymore. It could be that. So do an honest look at that. Look at, have you changed your pricing? Like, look at the kinds of things that I was looking at. Are there changes that you've made that kind of coincided at the time that the sales stopped? And that could be part of it. And then you have to decide where you want to go with that information. So you might not want to change your price back. That's fine. But there, you might have hit the top, because at some point you're going to raise your prices. And like I said, even I dropped my prices, but in effect, I raised my prices because all of a sudden the customer had to pay for the shipping, and the post office was charging more for shipping than I was. So I effectively raised my prices by lowering the displayed product price. So that could be the problem. And you have to decide whether you want to go back and change that back. I don't, so that's not an option, but you might. It just depends on your situation. Oh, the other thing I wanted to look at, let me show you guys this. I did want to go in, and one thing I did do was check on marmalade. So I did a search for purple edible butterflies on marmalade just to get an idea about what the competition was, because sometimes the reason that your listing stops selling is because the market has been flooded with copycats, or just the competition has increased a lot and demand isn't keeping up with supply. So you're obviously going to sell less. So I did see that this, the competition over the last 2 years has gone up 7%. That's a little bit, but I don't think that that's enough to really matter. And see, there's very little competition for this keyword, this specific keyword. So I'm not, it could be that there's a little bit more competition, but I think it's probably more the other things I was talking about. But these are all the kinds of things that you need to look at. So go over to Marmalade and look at competition. And you should know, like you should know on Etsy, if your competition for a specific product has increased, you'll just know. I would go over and just search for that one keyword. I wouldn't go and worry about what other people are charging, because if you start comparing your prices to people, you're gonna get locked in that race for the bottom. And we don't want to win the race to the bottom, because the winner is the loser. Okay. You know how much you need to charge. So set your prices at that. But do think about other factors that could make people want to come to your listing or not when they see that listing in search results. All right, so I'm going to go and actually do that right now. And I'm not too worried about this specific listing because it did sell. It will sell in the future. I'm not sure that it ever sold. No, actually, I was selling it a lot. It could be the purple isn't as trendy now. That could be too. And one way you can do that is go to Google Trends and see what's the trend for purple. Has it dropped? It's a weird. There's too many things to really be able to pinpoint one thing is the reason. But you do have to think of all these possibilities. And the easiest thing is just to make a copy, make your changes, and see what happens. That's the easiest thing to do. So give this video a thumbs up if it gave you some ideas, and I will talk to you later.